Hi everyone, right, let's try. Okay, Nicole. Here we are, Nicole, let's see. How's that? Is that better? Let me know if you can hear me better. I'm doing things that are really untechnical, like opening doors.
Yay!
Hi!
Much
That better?
better.
You'd laugh. I was like, what could I do to try and get better Wi-Fi? So I've like opened my doors. I mean, that is literally the most illogical thing. Okay, better. I really hope this works. So,
It's
thank you
so much.
everyone for better. Oh, good. Okay,
Yeah.
good. Fingers
I
crossed.
thought,
Fingers crossed.
yeah.
The door opening worked. Right, let's
Thought
do
it
it. So,
was.
do you want to ask me another question? Kind of give me a break from that one. We can always come back to it, but we'll
Yeah.
let's keep going because I know people have. Yeah.
Yeah. No problem. So, sorry, I'm just reading through her question to see. Okay, when somebody is constantly in your thoughts, does that mean that you are in their energy field? And is that why we may just start thinking about them and then we bump into them or call them, which you touched a little bit on before?
Yeah, so I think there's a differentiation here going on is that we can have people that drop into our thoughts. So I used the example of an old client. I contacted her to check that she was still coming to a day that I'm running, which she is. I said, you happen to be in my thoughts. And she said, this is nuts. I'm about to make a huge decision in my business. I was literally talking to a friend saying, I wonder what Caroline would say. Those words were coming out of my mouth and you contacted me. So like she's dropped in out of nowhere. I flashed kind of through my thought process and I've messaged. Now, this happens a lot. I mean, most of the people who work with me will know this is just what happens. So, because of that, it's like I know that in some field that energetically I'm being referred to or spoken about, and I've got that connection. I'm feeling that energetic pull. That's one thing, yeah. Consistently having somebody in our thoughts rather than us being in their energy field, they're in ours. And this is something I want us to be mindful of. And it can be good and it can be bad, you know? But I think I'm very, very cognizant of this because of the work I do, is that if I'm feeling somebody around a lot, I am really, really clear on making sure that they aren't crossing energetic boundaries before I go there. And I'm going to give the example again because I know people will be watching this recording, but it's something that my mentor Emma Lucy gave me, which is to imagine you're in a control tower. Imagine there's a big bit of kind of space around you, and then there's kind of a loving gold barrier that everyone stands behind, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And I tend to see me in the control tower with my children, with Matt, and that's where I am. And then obviously all the people who I love in my life kind of come and go, the team, friends, and all those things. But I'm also very aware that actually I check in very frequently, actually 3 or 4 times a week, probably sometimes more, depending on what I'm feeling, to making sure that people, even if I love them, are not crossing over that barrier. And I think that's really important. It's before we kind of go into, oh my goodness, I'm feeling them and I'm sensing them. It's like, well, actually, am I okay with the energy that's coming from? Okay, do I want to have boundaries around this? I can still create space and be having that relationship with them, but in a really boundaried way. I think that's really important.
Yeah, and I think this ties into the next question really well. It's a different person, but she says, have you ever met someone and felt connected instantly, almost like you knew each other in another life?
Yes, I mean, you'd be a classic example of that. Oh, yes, a lot with clients, a lot. I'll have clients who come to me and I just feel like I know them, and I'm sure that, and actually, I've become very close to quite a few of my clients because it feels like we've experienced things in a past life together. I feel like I just have a connection on a soul level that, like, I came here to help you with this. And then often it's sort of amazing how it works out. It's not always just about me helping, you know, it's about them coming into my life, and I see it with you, and you've now joined my team. I see it with another one of my inner circle and current, and she's been a client for a while, Angela Simpson from Simpson and Voyle, who we often talk about the kind of, we have a very similar memory together where we think we're in a past life together. And she's helped me with loads of things about making my house beautiful. I've helped with lots of things around her life and her business, and it's wonderful how this happens. So yes, absolutely, that happens to me, and quite frequently.
So the second part of that question, I can't wait to hear what you have to say, because I think many of us either worry about it or have struggled with this question before. Have you lost friends since becoming a coach? Was it your choice, or did friendships naturally just end?
Oh gosh, do you know, I've never ever spoken about this. Oh,
Uh-oh.
interesting, interesting that's come up today. I'm going to check about whether I feel comfortable talking about it. I do. I do feel comfortable. I'm not going to mention names. Yes. When I first started out on this journey and I left the corporate world to set up on my own, two very, very important people in my life became incredibly difficult, incredibly difficult. And these are really long relationships, of one being, yes, and both being people who are very, very, very close to me. And it was really difficult. It has been really difficult. It's been a real journey for me. And at first, because of the nature of the way that I always was that I made it mean something about me. I was like, well, maybe I've been talking about my business too much, or I've been doing this too much. And really, I hadn't. I mean, they have never between them ever asked a question about it, interestingly. But they were, when I look back, I think there was definitely a theme of them being more comfortable when I was struggling. And more comfortable when I was constantly meeting their emotional needs rather than prioritizing my own. And what's really interesting is those relationships have pretty much gone. They have gone, really. And I have a great deal of love. I've done a lot of healing about it because it really felt like it was a very difficult process for me. And actually, my other friendships and my other relationships with those people in my life have grown exponentially. And it's interesting, isn't it, that people say, like, you know who your friends are when you're sort of down there and struggling. And you do, that's true, you do. But also it's the people who can stick around when you're doing really well, and who you can celebrate with. And even now, I'm being totally honest, because this is the kind of vow that I always make when I do these talks. It's like, I think being really honest is that there's still a very small handful of people that I would be fully open with about my success, because of the fear that I'm not being humble, or it means something about me. And that's something I'm trying to own more and more. It's a big theme for me, actually, that's coming up, about really owning this now, because I'm owning it for everybody else as well, not just for myself. You know, I need to be able to stand there and fully own what I'm doing and the success I have created and will continue to create. So yes, I have been on the receiving end of it. And I think it's really important to, we can do that introspection of looking at whether it's something about ourselves, but actually, I think it's really important that you have to realize that sometimes you going and doing your own thing can trigger other people, and that you can have love and compassion for it, but also not take any shit about it. You know, that's the bit that I always struggled. I'd always try and put myself in the position of that person, and make it all mold around them. And actually, I think you have to get to the point where you're like, well, we can have ups and downs. We don't always all behave brilliantly, but really, come on, you know, this is really not doing me any good. It's not enhancing my life. It's not expanding me. It's depleting me, and it's hurting me, and keeping me small. And if I'm totally honest, I think, and I think this is an important message to share today, is that sometimes there has been a reticence for me to shine brightly because of the fear of making other people feel less than worthy. And actually, the greatest gift we can do is to shine. And when we shine brightly, yes, it's going to upset some people. Yes, it's going to trigger some people. And sometimes that's a gift in itself, yeah? When we get over the need to have everybody like us and people please, which, you know, I know has been tendencies of mine in the past and probably still is in some ways, something I have to really work on. But when we fully stand in our light and stand in our power, yeah, and what we were here to do, and we own that, that's so powerful for the people around us. It's so powerful for my clients who come into that space with me, for anybody in my team, for anybody in my life. When they're coming into that vibration, it's automatically lifting them. And that's what I want for people. It's not like we have to drop down here and meet everybody's energy here. It's like we stay up here, not hierarchically, I mean energetically. And there's a space there for people to come and join you at that vibration. And I don't mean hierarchically. I don't mean like someone's here and you have to go up here. It's completely the opposite. It's like, I'm going to shine up here and you can stay here and be less in the sparkle and more in the dark, which we all do. Or you can kind of allow yourself to shine brightly and come into that energy with me. So yeah, that's an honest answer. And it's not something I've ever spoken about. It's not something that I've written about, but I think it's been, and maybe I will one day, maybe I will in my book, we'll see. I think I probably will. But it's been one of the biggest lessons for me. Yeah.
Well, you just did the most perfect segue into the next question.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay.
Okay, I heard you mention you were writing a book.
Yes, I am.
I often struggle with visibility because I'm worried about my words and my face being out there for the world to see and judge. How do you feel about being so visible and becoming more famous?
A while ago, I think probably about a year ago, maybe less actually, probably less, about 8 months ago, I got to the point where I was like, I can either make it about me or I can make it about service to others. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I'm here to share a very powerful message. I feel like I am a conduit for source. I'm here to express the messages that are trying to move through me. And in order to be able to reach more people, I need to allow myself to be seen. I need to allow myself to shine and to be visible. And quite honestly, I'm only just getting warmed up. I mean, the scale of what the impact that I believe I was put here to do is so huge, that I know inherently I need to be comfortable with that. And does it make me feel vulnerable? Yes. Does it make me feel not good enough sometimes? Yes. But ultimately, I choose to believe in what I was put here to do, and I choose to believe in the power I have. And look, the way that I do visibility is in the way that I want to. I don't do visibility and sharing for the sake of it. I don't choose to show it'd be very rare really for you to see me having loads of pictures of like me out with friends or having dinner or every moment with my children. And if people choose to do that, that's up to them. That isn't a judgment. We all have to be comfortable with what it is. I share visibility in my own way. And this is really important. I don't believe or have bought into a story that I have to be visible and do things I don't want to do in order to make that level of money or to create that amount of wealth. I just don't buy into that. I totally believe it's who we choose to be, not what we choose to do. Yeah. And you will see that as part of my team is when I'm doing launches, I'll energetically do the work. I'll call it in energetically. And yeah, there'll be posts that go out and there'll be information, but really it's me embodying who I'm choosing to become. And that's the power. And I think that for that person who wrote the question about struggling with their visibility, I want you to make this about the message that are the things that you're compelled to create, and make it about being of service to yourself and others, and really owning what you say. And as you step more and more into leadership in this space or with whatever you're doing, this is about you speaking your truth. And I know some of the most powerful things that I've shared have usually been the things that I've put out there, and it's a vulnerability has come up for me and I've wanted to delete them. And actually, those are the things that are most powerful and resonate because they come deep within me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. It's funny. I got this nudge. So I last night I responded to one of your posts. You were already sleeping, and I just got this nudge to read it to you live. So I don't know if you've seen it yet, but I'm gonna say it. Uh,
Okay.
it
So
was
this is something that you wrote on my post.
and the reason that
Okay.
I'm reading it is
Yeah.
because this is the epitome of your service. It is your energy sucked me in like a wind tunnel. You created this energetic vortex of expansion, alignment, and growth like I had never experienced before. Your soul directly talking to my soul in their own unique language, communicating with each other in their own special world despite the land and ocean we have between us. You captured my soul on such a deep level. She will never forget, never question, and never doubt we were meant to meet and work together. You are a special one. Each night as I go to bed, I wish to the universe that your name is as common as Oprah's because I know that is when the healing of this world and people's souls has truly begun. Thank you to my guardian angel in human form.
I mean, wow. Thank you.
Yeah.
Gratefully received. I mean, wow. all the hearts are coming off the comments. Thank you, Nicole. I
Well,
really, really welcome and receive that. That's incredible. Thank you.
that is what I want people to understand. Like, when you feel so deeply about someone and their service, like that's the kind of response that you'll get. And when, like, I truly feel you come out from service, I don't feel that you do this for the money. I don't feel that you do it for fame or for having the big house or anything like that. Like, your soul talks to our souls. And so that is just really refreshing.
Thank you. And do you know what? I was thinking about this the other day. I just want people to be happy. It's a big thing for me. Like I drive around and I'm always looking for the moments. I'm always looking for the moments where I can make people happy or I see happiness. It's like an obsession of mine is to um, see that in people, to see that joy. And for me, there's nothing better than when you see people like coming alive, like just the smallest things, like when you're in the restaurant and you're talking to the waiter or waitress and you're having those moments, and those interactions are just so important, and you see people become happy. The analogy I was given ages ago, I think, for the work that I'm put here to do, it's what it feels like for me, that I'm standing at the bottom of, we haven't talked about this ever, I don't think, but standing at the bottom of, it almost feels like a big garden. There's like a big house at the back, and it's in loads of nature. And all these people are kind of walking towards me one at a time, tens at a time, hundreds, thousands, in different kind of flows and ebbs. And they come to me, and physically they look like broken, their body language and like their heads are dropped and their coats, and they're like a bit like when you're having a bit of a rubbish time where you've broken up with someone, you go back to your parents' home and you feel that's the kind of feeling it feels like, you're just a bit broken. Then I think about moments in my life when I've been a bit broken. I've just kind of wanted, my mum and my dad, and sort of taken into that space and looked after them. It feels like that, and these people show up, and it feels like my job is just to like take their kind of coats off, to scoop them up, to bring them into this house, which is metaphorical really, I guess, this space, and to look after them and to nurture them and to get them to shed the layers and see and come back to life. Yeah. And then I see them coming out of that building and like their eyes sparkling and like stepping out in nature and like different people. And that's what, and they're not different, they're reconnected to the essence of who they are. That's what I feel like I'm here to do. That's my driving force, is there are so many people who are feeling like they aren't broken, they're feeling slightly broken, and stooped and disconnected and everything. And I just want to like, I can't help myself, you know, when I get in these spaces and I see it and I just can't help but tune into that energy and want to help.
And you do that. I mean, you saw me at my deepest, darkest moments, and you allowed me to like see again and feel my light. Or I wouldn't even say again, I would say I didn't even really know I had a light. So okay, we probably should get one more question in. Okay. Looks like we have some questions about the biggest sign around that you've ever received from the universe.
The biggest, what did he say, sign?
Mm-hmm.
What is the biggest sign that I've ever received from the universe? I mean, there's like 8 trillion. I went to, oh my, let me talk about two, and there's about 8 trillion examples, but let's talk about one that came through today and one came before, which is really interesting. I went this morning to buy a car, yeah, and the guy generated the car thing, and I was doing my bits, and he gave me the link, and the link of the car was my numerology again, yeah. It had C's and it had 8s and it had 5s in it, and I said to him, I was explaining to him, I was like, that's like my numerology. It was the weirdest thing. And then, of course, that reminds me of when I came into this house. Do you remember? And I was like pottering around. God, this is recently, maybe a month ago. And I was walking around the garden and I looked down at the a paving slab, which is right by the kitchen. And ingrained in it, somebody had written the date and these numbers from ages ago. But they happen to be my exact numerology, my gift numbers. Marked, the 5 numbers marked in the house that I was living in. I mean, there are so many. I mean, I could talk about this all day. I'll tell you an amazing one that's just come through as well. It's when I was on my way to resign from my corporate job, and it looked honestly quite mental on paper. I mean, I was like, well, you know, I'm not making any real money in my business, and I've got everything on paper, looks as it should be with the corporate job, but I'd made the decision I was going to do it. And I got I booked a taxi, and it was the weirdest thing. I got in the taxi, and the guy who was driving me happened to be a profound and prolific spiritual man. I mean, one of the most insightful, wise people. He'd read everything, and he asked me what I was doing when I got in the car, and I said, I'm actually going to hand my notice. And we got stuck in traffic. So I got a 40-minute spiritual lesson from him about the true meaning of success, about the way we live our lives, all these spiritual philosophies, everything. And I came out of that car, I still think about what he said now, a different person than when I got off the tube. I remember there was a big, you know how they, I don't know whether you know, but they, the underground, they do these kind of whiteboards and they write kind of meaningful or thought-provoking things. And it was all about like changing paths and owning your desires and following your gut. And that was there. Then I stepped out and there was something else. So these things continuously happen. I mean, I could give you a million, but I think they are some of the biggest ones. But I would say that that moment when I got in that car and the universe had sent me him, just gave me everything that I needed. But there are millions of them.
Yeah, like you being sent to me, and all of us. I mean, come on, how many people you helped? I think that's the theme of today. Maybe it's a thank you to you and everything that you do for us. And, you know, it's helping us live again as our true preferred selves. So thank you you for everything.
Thank you. Thank you for being so kind and generous. And thank you to everybody who asked these questions. I love the fact we're getting so much engagement, and I love the fact questions come through every week and that I just get to be put on the spot and asked. I never know what's coming, and I really like that because it kind of just allows me to kind of go into the zone. So thank you as ever, Nicole. Thank you everybody who joined, and we'll post the replay on my Instagram grid for people to have a look at.
And email me or message me if you have questions, Nicole at Caroline-Britton.com, or message me directly.
Thank you.
Much
Love
love.
you lots.
Love you too. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.